The sharp snap of blinds shutting cuts through the quiet. A phone camera whirs faintly, zooming in on two children laughing. Below, Ava's braids bounce as she races her brother Miles down the sunlit sidewalk, their scooters scraping against pavement. Inside, Richard Lively's finger hovers over his screen, the glow casting shadows under his narrowed eyes. "Suspicious activity on Elm," he types, the HOA's automated reply pinging instantly. Outside, a neighbor adjusts sprinklers, glancing uneasily at Richard's window. Ava's voice rises, clear and bright. "Race you to the mailbox!" Miles grins, kicking off faster. Richard's jaw twitches as he tracks their movements, the camera shaking slightly in his grip. A fly buzzes against the glass. He swats it, smudging the view. On the porch, Dr. Simone Thompson steps into the light, her lab coat swapped for a faded denim jacket. She folds her arms, squinting at the glint of Richard's lens. "Beautiful day to watch kids play, isn't it?" she calls, tone steady, edged with warning. The curtain jerks shut. Tires crunch gravel as a black SUV rolls up, the city seal gleaming on its door. Mayor Darius Thompson steps out, straightening his tie, gaze locking on Richard's window. The sunset stains the blinds crimson, the street holding its breath. Inside, Richard's phone clatters to the floor. Before the story continues, please let us know from where you are watching this video. Write your city or country in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit like if you believe in stories that challenge injustice. Your engagement gives power to voices that need to be heard. The sharp screech of a scooter halting mid-wheelie breaks the afternoon calm. Ava's eyes widen, her hands gripping the handlebars as Richard's voice cuts through the air, sharp and clipped. "Shouldn't you be somewhere else?" Miles freezes, his knuckles whitening around the scooter's grips. The pavement beneath their feet feels suddenly unfamiliar, the sun casting long shadows that stretch like silent accusations. A robin chirps nearby, oblivious to the tension thickening, the space between the children and the man watching from his porch. Ava's sparkly pink sneakers press into the cracked concrete, while Miles's scuffed blue shoes shuffle nervously. Their laughter, once bright and free, is swallowed by the weight of unspoken rules. Simone watches from the doorway, her gaze steady, but her jaw tight. She steps forward, the soft rustle of her jacket the only sound as she approaches. Richard's phone lowers slightly, but his tight smile remains, a mask barely concealing his unease. "Kids should know their place," Richard mutters under his breath, eyes flicking away when Simone sees his steady staring. The children exchange a glance, confusion and hurt mingling in their silent conversation. A neighbor across the street pauses, clutching a grocery bag, her eyes darting between the scene and the safety of her home. The wind stirs leaves along the sidewalk, carrying with it the faint scent of jasmine and tension. Miles's voice breaks the silence, barely audible. "Why can't we just play?" Simone's reply is calm, unwavering. "Because some people still don't see you." The camera lingers on the children's faces, resilience flickering beneath the surface as the sun dips lower, casting the street in a golden, uneasy light. The porch creaks softly as Simone steps forward, her footsteps measured and calm. The denim jacket replaces the crisp lab coat, but her presence remains commanding. Richard's phone lowers, his eyes flicker with unease, yet his tight smile holds firm. She meets his gaze steadily, voice low but clear. "Is there a problem?" The afternoon sun casts long shadows across the lawn, highlighting the tension hanging between them. A neighbor peeks from behind a curtain, fingers gripping the fabric as if holding back a storm. The children stand close, their small hands intertwined, seeking strength in each other. Richard's fingers twitch, hovering over the screen again, the HOA number glowing bright. He swallows hard, the usual confidence wavering. "Just making sure the neighborhood stays safe," he replies, voice clipped, eyes avoiding hers. Simone's lips press into a thin line, the weight of years settling into the silence between them. The soft hum of sprinklers fills the space, a quiet counterpoint to the unspoken battle. A bird flutters nearby, wings beating against the heavy air. Miles shifts, his gaze fixed on the cracked sidewalk, while Ava's eyes search her mother's, face for reassurance. Simone's hand brushes a stray braid behind Ava's ear, a small gesture of protection. The black SUV's engine rumbles in the distance, growing louder, a reminder of the power waiting just beyond the porch. Richard's phone slips from his grasp, clattering against the wooden steps. Simone's smile tightens, not with triumph, but with resolve. The neighborhood's quiet tension deepens, the first cracks in the facade beginning to show. The gravel crunches sharply under heavy tires as the black SUV rolls onto the driveway. The city seal gleams on the door, catching the fading light. Darius steps out, polished shoes hitting the pavement with deliberate calm. His gaze sweeps the lawn, settling on Richard's curtained window. Richard's confident smile falters, eyes darting away as the weight of the mayor's presence presses down. The air thickens with unspoken challenges. Simone stands beside her husband, her posture steady, shoulders squared against the gathering storm. The children cling quietly to their parents, sensing the shift. Darius adjusts his cufflinks, the subtle click echoing in the stillness. His tie flutters briefly in the breeze, a banner of quiet authority. The sun dips lower, casting long shadows that stretch like fingers across the grass, reaching toward Richard's shrinking figure. A neighbor across the street pauses, watching. The scene unfold, lips pressed tight. The distant bark of a dog breaks the silence, mingling with the soft rustle of leaves. The moment feels suspended, a breath held between past grievances and looming reckoning. Richard's fingers twitch nervously, the phone slipping from his grip to clatter softly on the concrete. His eyes flicker with doubt, the facade cracking beneath the mayor's steady gaze. Simone's lips curve slightly, a smile not of victory, but of unyielding resolve. The camera lingers on Darius's shadow stretching long over the lawn, a silent promise of change. The neighborhood holds its breath, caught between the fading light and the coming storm. The sun dips low, casting a warm amber glow that softens the edges of the lawn, but not the tension thickening the air. Simone's smile holds steady, unreadable, a quiet shield forged from years of endurance. Darius extends his hand with calm authority, fingers steady despite the charged silence. Richard's grip tightens on his phone, sweat beading at his temples. His eyes flicker between the outstretched hand and the gathering shadows. The neighborhood seems to hold its breath, sprinklers hissing in the distance, a dog barking faintly, the chorus of small sounds underscoring the weight of the moment. Keeping the neighborhood safe, Mr. Lively? Darius's voice is soft but carries an unmistakable edge. The question hangs, sharp and deliberate, slicing through the quiet like a blade. Richard's jaw clenches, the tight smile faltering, replaced by a furtive glance toward the darkening windows. Simone steps forward slightly, her gaze unwavering, a silent promise echoing in her eyes. The children watch, their faces a mix of confusion and hope, sensing the shift even if they don't fully understand it. A breeze stirs the leaves, scattering shadows that dance like ghosts across the lawn. Richard's phone slips from his fingers, clattering against the concrete with a finality that echoes louder than words. The neighborhood's unspoken tension crackles, a fragile balance teetering on the edge. The mayor's presence casts a long shadow, one that promises reckoning without a single raised voice. The last light fades, the sky bleeding into dusk as the scene holds a moment suspended between past grievances and the promise of change. The glow of Richard's laptop fills the dim room as he scrolls through a string of HOA emails, each more pointed than the last. Loud music? Classical? Suspicious vehicle? Toyota? Unruly gatherings? Birthday party. Dates and times line up like a meticulous indictment, all targeting families of color. His fingers hover over the keyboard, ready to send another complaint. Outside, sprinklers hiss rhythmically, drowning out the faint whir of his printer, spitting out yet another concern. The garden's perfect symmetry contrasts sharply with the chaos his messages sow. A neighbor's window reflects his face, tight-lipped, eyes flickering with calculated resolve. Simone's voice drifts in from a phone call, calm but firm. "We're not going anywhere." The screen splits, showing her steady hands folding laundry, a quiet act of resilience. Across the neighborhood, whispers ripple through block parties and front porches, smiles stiffening when the Thompsons arrive with peach cobbler. A child points at Ava's braids, prompting a swift tug from her mother. Darius's mayoral campaign pin catches the string lights, but goes unnoticed. Loretta Hayes stirs sweet tea slowly on her porch, the past bleeding into the present like a faded photograph. Richard's inbox pings again. Another complaint. Another layer in the silent siege. The camera lingers on the "Keep Our Neighborhood Safe" sign, its letters sharp against the twilight. The neighborhood's veneer cracks, revealing the rot beneath. The block party hums with strained energy as the Thompsons arrive, arms full of peach cobbler. Neighbors' smiles stiffen, eyes flickering away as if avoiding a storm. A child tugs at her mother's sleeve, whispering about Ava's braids. The mother pulls her close, shielding innocence from unspoken judgment. Darius's mayoral campaign pin glints under the string lights, but no one acknowledges it. Loretta Hayes rocks slowly on her porch, stirring sweet tea as memories of decades-old exclusion flood her mind. The laughter around her feels distant, a fragile echo of a past that refuses to fade. Simone exchanges brief glances with neighbors, sensing the cold welcome like a physical weight pressing down. The children clutch their mother's hands tighter, their small faces a mix of hope and confusion. Across the street, a lawn sprinkler hisses, droplets catching the fading light like tears. The "Keep Our Neighborhood Safe" sign stands sentinel, its message sharp and unyielding. The neighborhood's veneer of civility cracks, revealing the quiet fractures beneath. Ava's eyes scan the crowd, searching for warmth. Miles nudges, her gently whispering, "We'll make them see." The camera lingers on their determined faces as the party carries on, the unspoken tension thickening the air. Carlos steps through the back gate, the one marked "Staff Only," his footsteps soft against the gravel path. His shears clip rhythmically as he trims the rhododendrons framing Richard's "Keep Our Neighborhood Safe" sign, its letters bold and unyielding. The garden's perfection contrasts with the quiet weight pressing on Carlos's shoulders. "A tragedy of faint, disniruam." Flashback flickers. Years ago, a younger Carlos stands at the same gate, told bluntly, "We don't tip people like you." The memory stings, the words echoing in the stillness. He pockets a fallen azalea bloom, its pink petals vibrant against his calloused hands. Nearby, a white neighbor watches from behind lace curtains, eyes narrowed, but lips pressed tight. The hum of a lawnmower fills the air, masking the tension that coils like a spring. Carlos's breath is steady, but his gaze flickers toward the house, aware of every judgmental glance. Simone's voice crackles over the phone, calm but resolute. "We're standing strong." Carlos nods, the azalea blooms a silent promise of resilience. The camera lingers on the flower, then shifts to the cracked sidewalk where weeds push through, stubborn and unyielding. The garden remains immaculate, but the invisible lines have been drawn. Carlos's footsteps fade as he continues his work, each sniping a quiet act of defiance. Diane McAllister's fingers tremble slightly as she files Richard's latest complaint under community standards. The crisp paper bites into her skin, a small sting that mirrors the sharpness of the words within. She pauses, pressing her thumb to the cut, then dials Simone's number with a practiced calm. "Just a formality," she says, voice steady but eyes flickering with doubt. Outside, Miles recites Ava's poem softly, his phone recording every word. "I'm here, but am I seen?" The upload button glows, a beacon in the quiet evening. The camera shifts to Diane's office window, where shadows lengthen and the weight of decisions hangs heavy. The neighborhood hums with whispered conversations and cautious glances. A white neighbor's smile falters as the video spreads, the veneer of civility cracking under the strain. Simone's hands fold the poem's printed copy, fingers tracing the words like a lifeline. The "Keep Our Neighborhood Safe" sign stands stoic against the gathering dusk, its message sharp and unyielding. Diane's gaze lingers on it, the irony not lost. The stack of complaints grows heavier, each one a brick in a wall built on fear and exclusion. Inside, the soft click of a keyboard punctuates the tension as emails fly back and forth, the usual routine now tinged with uncertainty. The camera lingers on a single line. Maintain standards to preserve community harmony. Miles's eyes meet Ava's, determination flickering between them. The poem's words echo, "Am I seen?" The question hangs, unanswered but powerful. The campaign poster flaps loosely on the telephone pole, its edges curling like forgotten promises. Rain seeps through the paper, blurring Darius's confident smile into a watercolor of fading hope. A white neighbor pauses, fingers tightening around a coffee cup, eyes lingering on the soaked image before turning away without a word. 2 streets over, Ava's laughter echoes faintly, carried on the wind like a fragile thread of defiance. The storm clouds gather, heavy and unrelenting, mirroring the tension settling over the neighborhood. Streetlights flicker on, casting long shadows that stretch across cracked sidewalks and manicured lawns alike. Inside a nearby home, a mother pulls her child closer, whispering reassurances that feel hollow in the growing chill. The "Keep Our Neighborhood Safe" sign stands battered, its message worn but still sharp. The camera lingers on the rain-tracing rivulets down the faded words, washing away the surface but not the meaning beneath. Darius watches from his office window, the weight of responsibility pressing down like the storm outside. His reflection merges with the darkening sky, a silent testament to battles fought and those yet to come. The neighborhood holds its breath, caught between the promise of change and the pull of old fears. The wind howls softly, carrying away the last remnants of daylight as the scene fades to black, leaving only the sound of distant thunder and the quiet pulse of hope. The cafeteria buzz fades as Miles stands at the edge of the lunch table, his sandwich crushed beneath a careless shove. "Your dad's gonna lose," a classmate mutters, voice low but pointed. Miles's fingers curl around his lunchbox, knuckles whitening as he forces himself not to react. A teacher glances over, sighs and turns away, choosing not to intervene. The sound of trays clattering and sneakers squeaking on linoleum fills the space, but the words linger, heavy and unspoken. Ava sits nearby, eyes wide, watching her brother swallow his frustration with a tight jaw. Miles pulls out his phone, hands shaking slightly. He focuses the camera on his bruised apple, the skin mottled and soft. Without a word, he posts the image with the hashtag #LetKidsPlay, his thumb hovering for a heartbeat before pressing send. The screen lights up, notifications streaming in, like a silent show of support. Across the room, a group of students exchange glances, some sympathetic, others indifferent. One girl offers Miles a quiet nod, her gesture small but sincere. The teacher's footsteps echo as she moves further away, her back turned to the quiet injustice unfolding. Ava reaches over, squeezing Miles's hand. "We're not alone," she whispers, her voice barely above a breath. The camera lingers on their joined hands, the bruised apple, and the phone screen glowing with new messages. Outside, rain taps against the windows, the world moving on as if nothing has changed. But inside, the air is charged with something new. A quiet resistance, a promise that their voices will not be silenced. The cluttered desk is strewn with papers, photographs, and half-empty coffee cups. Jasmine Lee's fingers hover over a notebook, circling Richard's name in red ink. The margins are cramped, filled with scribbled notes and a growing list of HOA complaints targeting families of color. Her eyes scan security footage stills, each frame a silent testament to bias. Her phone buzzes softly, a message from Simone. "They'll hear us tomorrow." Jasmine's lips press into a thin line as she types back, deleting the word systemic and replacing it with calculated. The weight of the investigation settles heavily in the room. The glow of the laptop casting sharp shadows on the walls. Stacks of documents fan out like a map of quiet oppression. Carlos's pressed azalea petal lies atop the pile, fragile yet resolute. Jasmine's gaze lingers on it, a symbol of the resilience threaded through the community's struggles. Outside, the neighborhood simmers with whispered conversations and cautious glances. The camera pans to a group chat exploding with emojis and fractured opinions, defensive, guilty, silent. The hashtag #LetKidsPlay climbs steadily, a beacon in the digital noise. Jasmine leans back, eyes closing briefly as the weight of truth presses down. The room is silent but for the soft hum of the computer and the distant murmur of a city waking to justice. The security camera's red light pulses steadily, a silent sentinel over the quiet neighborhood. Richard adjusts the lens, angling it toward the Thompsons' porch, his fingers trembling slightly. The playback reveals his own shadow lurking, phone raised, capturing moments meant to intimidate. The timestamp blinks, 12:47 p.m., October 12th, marking the day the truth began to unravel. Jasmine copies the files onto a flash drive, her breath steady but eyes sharp with determination. The camera's LED pulses like a heartbeat, each blink a reminder that secrets cannot stay hidden forever. Outside, the wind rustles leaves scattering, shadows that seem to reach for justice. Richard's face tightens as he watches the footage, the weight of exposure pressing down. His usual smirk falters, replaced by a furtive glance toward the empty street. A neighbor passes by, glancing back, with a mix of curiosity and caution. Inside Jasmine's office, the files stack higher, each frame a piece of the puzzle. The neighborhood's veneer of calm begins to crack, revealing fractures long ignored. The red light blinks on, steady and unyielding, as the quiet revolution gains momentum. The scene ends with the camera's glow fading into darkness, a silent promise that truth, once illuminated, cannot be unseen. The neighborhood group chat erupts like a shaken soda can, emojis flooding the screen, angry faces, crying eyes, fists raised. Karen 42 types furiously, "This is getting out of hand." Elm's Guardian counters, "Stand firm, protect our community." Loretta Hayes replies quietly, "I've seen this before." The digital cacophony mirrors the tension spilling into the streets. Miles' video climbs past 10,000 shares, each view a ripple of change. Simone blocks yet another unknown number, the phone buzzing with both support and threats. Across the neighborhood, windows flicker with the glow of screens, faces illuminated by the unfolding storm. A teenager scrolls nervously, pausing at a message that reads, "They don't belong here." Her fingers hesitate before she types back, "We're all neighbors." The camera pans to a mother clutching her child, eyes darting toward the phone, wary yet hopeful. The chat fractures into factions, some defending Richard's complaints, others questioning the status quo. The digital divide reflects the neighborhood's silent fractures, each message a small battle in a larger war. Outside, the wind picks up, scattering leaves like whispered secrets. The screen fades to black as the notifications keep coming, a relentless tide that refuses to be ignored. The clink of a spoon against a glass jar breaks the quiet as Loretta stirs her sweet tea slowly on the porch. Her eyes drift to a faded photograph her son, years ago, stopped by a police flashlight while standing on his own lawn. The memory blurs into the present, merging with Miles's viral video playing softly on her phone. Her hands tremble slightly as she dials Jasmine's number, voice steady but resolute. "I'll testify," she says, the weight of decades pressing into her words. The afternoon sun casts long shadows, the heat thick and unrelenting, mirroring the simmering tension in the neighborhood. The camera lingers on the azalea bush beside her porch, petals vibrant against cracked concrete. A neighbor passes by, eyes downcast but aware. The past and present intertwine, a tapestry of quiet resistance and enduring hope. Loretta's breath catches as she listens, the promise of justice stirring something long dormant. The world outside moves on, unaware of the small acts of courage unfolding in this forgotten corner. The scene fades with the soft rustle of leaves, the sound of a distant lawnmower, and the steady beat of a heart ready to fight. Diane flips through. The petition, each signature a silent echo of betrayal. The inked names blur together, a ghostly chorus supporting Richard's cause. The azalea bloom on her desk wilts, petals curling like forgotten promises. Her hand hesitates, then writes "resign" on a sticky note, the word heavy with consequence. The E. Shredder hums quietly in the background, swallowing old complaints and whispered doubts. Diane's eyes flicker with guilt, the weight of complicity pressing down. Outside, the neighborhood stirs, unaware of the quiet reckoning taking shape behind closed doors. Carlos watches from a distance, the memory of a younger self folding into the present. His fingers brush a fallen petal, a symbol of resilience amid decay. The camera lingers on the petition, then shifts to a cracked sidewalk where weeds push through, stubborn and unyielding. The room feels smaller, the air thick with unspoken truths. Diane's breath catches as she folds the note, the decision marking a turning point. The shredder's teeth snap shut, a final act of severance from the past. The scene fades with a soft sigh, the promise of change hanging in the balance. The camera tilts down to the cracked sidewalk, a narrow fissure splitting the concrete like a silent wound. Weeds push stubbornly through the gap, their green defiance a quiet rebellion against the weight above. Simone's heel taps rhythmically, each step a measured beat in the neighborhood's slow awakening. Darius's car pulls up, tires crunching gravel as he steps out, his gaze scanning the fractured path. The neighborhood app pings incessantly, notifications buzzing like distant echoes of change. Richard's security light flickers, then dies, plunging the street into an uneasy dusk. A child's laughter bubbles from a nearby yard, a fragile thread weaving through the tension. The cracked foundation beneath their feet mirrors the fractures in the community's facade, a reminder that beneath polished lawns, old wounds linger. Simone pauses, fingers brushing the rough edge of the fissure, grounding herself in the moment. The camera pulls back, capturing the neighborhood bathed in twilight, caught between past grievances and the promise of renewal. The scene fades as the first stars emerge, silent witnesses to a city on the cusp of transformation. The room falls into a heavy stillness as the HOA president's gavel taps sharply against the polished wood. Neighbors clutch their phones, eyes flickering nervously between the Thompsons and Richard. Darius's mayoral pin catches the overhead light, gleaming. With quiet authority, a child coughs softly, breaking the tension but not the weight pressing down on the room. Jasmine's folder bulges with evidence photographs, emails, security footage, each piece bending the table's edge, as if under its own gravity. Richard shifts in his seat, sweat beating at his temple, fingers tapping an uneven rhythm against his knee. The murmurs hush as Diane calls the meeting to order, her voice steady but edged with anticipation. Simone stands tall beside Darius, her hands clasped tightly, eyes scanning the crowd. The children cling to her side, their faces a mixture of hope and apprehension. Richard's gaze flickers, darting away from the Thompsons, his usual composure cracking beneath the scrutiny. The room holds its breath, the air thick with unspoken accusations and the promise of reckoning. Phones are raised, recording every moment, the digital witnesses to a battle long overdue. The gavel's echo lingers, a heartbeat marking the start of justice's slow march. The projector hums softly as the screen flickers to life, casting a pale glow over the tense room. Jasmine clicks through security footage, each clip revealing Richard's shadow stalking the Thompsons' porch, his voice raised in veiled threats. The timestamp blinks 12:47 p.m., October 12th, marking the day the neighborhood's quiet facade began to crack. Richard's fingers tremble, the ink on his complaint forms smudging as sweat beads on his brow. Diane's hand shakes slightly as she reaches for a glass of water, her eyes flickering with unease. The neighbors lean forward, faces tight with disbelief and dawning realization. The footage shows Richard's smirk as he confronts Carlos, the subtle curl of his lips betraying a confidence now unraveling. Loretta's stoic expression in the background contrasts sharply with the tension radiating from Richard's every move. Darius's gaze hardens, the memory of his own childhood wounds fueling his resolve. The room feels smaller, the weight of truth pressing down like a tide ready to break. Phones capture every frame, the evidence undeniable and raw. The screen's glare illuminates the cracks in the system, exposing the rot beneath polished lawns and polite smiles. The battle for justice has shifted from whispers to undeniable proof, and the neighborhood braces for the reckoning to come. A young Darius sits in a sunlit classroom, his hands trembling as he presents a painting. The teacher's eyes narrow, lips pressing into a thin line. "Not our style," she mutters, reaching over to erase the vibrant colors with a dull brush. The boy's gaze drops, the sting of rejection settling deep. Years later, Darius adjusts his tie, the memory fueling. A quiet fire beneath his composed exterior. His wedding ring catches the light, a symbol of resilience and commitment. He steps into the boardroom, eyes locking with Richard's shrinking gaze. The room feels charged, the past bleeding into the present. Darius's voice is steady, carrying the weight of battles fought and the promise of those yet to come. The camera lingers on his hands, clenched briefly before relaxing into calm authority. Around him, the faces of neighbors shift uncomfortable, uncertain. The mayor's old wound is no longer hidden, but a source of strength, a reminder of why the fight matters. Outside, the city hums, unaware of the quiet reckoning unfolding within these walls. The scene holds, a moment suspended between history and hope. Richard's polished shoes tap an uneven rhythm against the polished floor, betraying the calm he tries to project. Sweat darkens his collar as memories flash. His "Keep Our Safe" sign, the shredded complaint, Carlos's azalea bloom pressed between pages. Simone's stillness unsettles him, a quiet storm he can't weather. His phone buzzes relentlessly, a notification flashing. "Let kids play. Trends nationwide." The room's tension thickens, neighbors exchanging furtive glances, some avoiding eye contact altogether. Richard's fingers twitch, tightening around the armrest as his facade begins to crumble. A subtle curl of lips from Diane signals her wavering support. Mascara smudge from an earlier moment of doubt. The weight of mounting evidence presses on the room, each tap of Richard's shoe echoing the unraveling of his control. Outside, the distant murmur of a crowd grows, a reminder that the battle has moved beyond these walls. The camera lingers on Richard's face, the tight smile slipping into a furtive glance, the first cracks in a once unshakable armor. The scene closes on the rhythmic tapping, a heartbeat marking the collapse of privilege and the rise of quiet. Justice! Jasmine places Carlos's pressed azalea gently on the table, its delicate petals a stark contrast to the harsh words that filled the complaint files. "This survived your standards," she states quietly, letting the weight of her words settle over the room. Diane's eyes well with tears, mascara streaking down her cheeks as the fragile flower becomes a symbol of resilience amid cruelty. Richard's throat tightens. His usual confidence dissolves into a nervous swallow. Behind him, Miles's video loops silently on a screen, laughter echoing like a weapon against the walls of denial. The room inhales collectively, the tension palpable yet unspoken. Neighbors shift uneasily, some averting their gaze, others exchanging glances that speak volumes. Jasmine's voice breaks through the silence, calm but resolute. The petals on the table seem to pulse with quiet defiance, a testament to the community's enduring strength. Outside, the wind rustles leaves, carrying whispers of change. The camera lingers on the flower, then pans to the faces in the room fractured, uncertain but undeniably moved. The scene closes on a fragile bloom standing tall against the storm. Ava's voice is barely a whisper, carried on the soft hum of the live stream. Why does he hate us? The question hangs in the air, fragile yet piercing. Simone's hand tightens around hers, a silent shield against the weight of the unspoken. The room shifts subtly. Some neighbors glance down, others blink back tears. Richard's chair scrapes the floor as he rises, but no words follow. Only the heavy stillness of defeat. Darius's voice cuts through, calm and unwavering. Hate needs silence. We're done being silent. The children watch, their faces a mix of confusion and hope, sensing the shift even if they don't fully grasp it. A breeze stirs the curtains, scattering shadows that dance like ghosts across the walls. Neighbors exchanged glances, the collective breath held tight. The mayor's presence fills the room with quiet authority, a promise that the past will no longer be ignored. Outside, the neighborhood holds its breath, caught between the fading light and the dawn of reckoning. The scene lingers on Ava's eyes, resilient, searching, unbroken. The ballots circulate slowly, each pen poised like a guillotine's blade, trembling with the weight of decision. Diane's hand shakes as she reaches for her vote, a sticky note reading "Resign" tucked beneath her sleeve. Richard's signature, once bold and confident, now wavers, the ink blotting under pressure. The room is thick with tension, neighbors exchanging furtive glances, some biting lips, others swallowing hard. Phones rest forgotten on tables, the usual hum of chatter replaced by a heavy, expectant silence. The shredder hums quietly in the corner, its teeth waiting to devour the remnants of a fractured past. Simone watches intently, her breath steady but heart-pounding. Darius's gaze sweeps the room, calm and resolute, embodying the quiet strength that has carried them this far. The children sit close, their small hands clasped tightly, eyes wide with hope and uncertainty. A pen drops to the floor with a sharp click, breaking the stillness. The camera lingers on the rising hands, the collective affirmation rippling through the room like a silent wave. The weight of years, of whispered injustices begins to lift. Outside, the first rays of dawn pierce the horizon, promising a new day. The scene fades with the sound of the gavel's impending fall, the final note in a long overdue reckoning. The gavel falls with a sharp crack, echoing through the packed room like a verdict long awaited. Richard's head bows slowly, the polished mask of confidence shattered, revealing the fragile man beneath. Simone exhales softly, the release mingling with the murmurs swelling around her. Outside, a construction crew tears up Elm Street's cracked sidewalk, machines grinding against concrete like the breaking of old chains. The mayor's campaign poster, once battered and faded, flutters in the wind, the words, "For all of us," now clear and resolute. Neighbors exchange glances, some with relief, others with quiet determination. The children's laughter, once stifled, begins to rise again, threading through the streets like a healing song. The room holds a fragile peace, the first breath after a long storm. Richard's footsteps retreat, hollow and uncertain, swallowed by the weight of consequences. The chandelier above flickers, then blazes to life, casting warm light over faces marked by struggle and hope. The scene lingers on the cracked foundation beneath their feet, a silent reminder that true change begins with breaking what no longer serves. The flash of cameras punctuates the quiet as the Thompsons step into the spotlight, their strides measured but filled with newfound confidence. Ava's braids bounce with each step. Miles grins at his phone, the glow reflecting the thousands watching his video. The crowd parts, whispers turning to murmurs of support. Richard stumbles into frame, backlit by flashing lights, his face a mask of disbelief and retreat. Simone doesn't look back, her gaze fixed forward, steady and unyielding. The lobby's chandelier flickers, then bursts into radiant light, illuminating every corner, every shadow. Neighbors watch from windows, some clapping softly, others wiping tears. The children's laughter weaves through the air, a thread of hope stitching a frayed community together. The camera lingers on the family's united front, a quiet declaration that dignity cannot be diminished. Outside, the city hums with life, unaware of the small revolution unfolding in this moment. The Thompsons walk taller, their steps echoing, the promise of change, justice, and belonging. The "Keep Our Neighborhood Safe" sign hangs crooked, rain washing its letters into faded gray. A moving truck blocks Richard's driveway, its engine humming a quiet farewell. Inside, he scrolls through news stories, the weight of lost power settling like dust on forgotten shelves. From Darius's office window, the city stretches out, alive and restless. He reviews new HOA guidelines, policies rewritten to ban discriminatory complaints and foster inclusion. Simone's laughter floats up from the street, light and unburdened, a stark contrast to the heavy silence that once filled these blocks. Neighbors gather, sharing stories and food, their faces bright with cautious hope. The camera pans to a child's hand reaching for a crayon, drawing a new sign, one that reads, "Keep Kind." The past lingers, but no longer defines the future. Richard sits, alone in a coffee shop, his order forgotten, the world moving on without him. The scene fades on the rain-streaked window, the neighborhood breathing a collective sigh of relief and renewal. Richard fumbles with the mail, his fingers trembling as he pulls envelopes from the box. Neighbors cross the street to avoid him, their eyes fixed firmly ahead. A child's ball rolls to his feet. A mother's hand swiftly pulls her child away, a silent message of distance and disapproval. His reflection in the polished chrome mailbox reveals sunken eyes and a face etched with isolation. The laughter of the Thompsons drifts from a nearby porch, vibrant and unrestrained, a stark contrast to Richard's shrinking world. He watches. From behind drawn curtains, the weight of exclusion pressing down like a physical barrier. The neighborhood, once a place of quiet tension, now feels like a battleground of silent stares and unspoken judgments. Richard's footsteps echo hollowly as he retreats indoors, the door closing softly but with finality. Outside, the sun filters through leaves, casting dappled patterns on sidewalks where children play freely. The camera lingers on the empty street, the space between neighbors growing wider with each passing day. A neighbor pauses at her window, her gaze lingering on the mailbox where Richard once stood. She sighs, a mixture of relief and sorrow in her eyes, aware that the neighborhood has changed, but still healing from the wounds left behind. The scene fades with the soft rustle of wind through trees, the quiet hum of life moving forward, leaving behind the echoes of a man who became a warning and a lesson. The park is alive with the sound of laughter, unburdened and free. Ava swings high, her braids flying behind her like banners of resilience. Miles stands nearby, phone in hand, capturing the moment, their joy of a quiet rebellion against the shadows that once loomed over their neighborhood. Darius pushes Simone gently on a swing, her lab coat replaced by a light sundress that catches the afternoon breeze. Around them, new families picnic on the grass, sharing dishes that blend cultures and stories, weaving a tapestry of belonging. The air is warm and fragrant, carrying the scent of fresh blooms and renewed hope. The "Keep Our Neighborhood Safe" sign lies discarded in a dumpster, its surface spray-painted with the word "Keep Kind." Children run past, their laughter ringing clear, a soundtrack to change. The camera lingers on the faces of neighbors' smiles, tentative but genuine, the first cracks of trust forming. Simone's eyes meet Darius's, a silent acknowledgement passing between them. The battles fought, the wounds healed, and the future unfolding like the petals of a flower in bloom. The park is no longer just a place to play, it's a symbol of what's possible when dignity is restored. As the sun dips lower, casting long shadows that stretch but no longer threaten, the scene fades on the swinging children, their joy a beacon, lighting the way forward. The television glows softly in the living room, casting flickering light across Simone's face as Jasmine's report begins. Footage of Richard's sneer plays alongside Miles's viral poem, their contrasting images, weaving a powerful narrative of injustice and resilience. The room is quiet, except for the steady hum of the broadcast and the occasional rustle of papers. Simone's fingers trace the outline of Darius's hand resting on the armrest beside her, a silent anchor amid the storm. Across town, a white neighbor types out an apology, only to have it left unread, a small but telling gesture in a shifting landscape. The screen fades to black as credits roll over scenes of Carlos planting azaleas in Loretta's garden, the blossoms vibrant against the earth. Outside, the neighborhood breathes a collective sigh, the weight of truth settling like a gentle nightlight. In the darkness, the camera lingers on faces illuminated by the glow, some tear-streaked, others hopeful, all marked by the quiet power of exposure. The documentary becomes more than a story. It is a beacon, a call to action, and a testament to the strength found in speaking truth to power without raising a voice. The scene fades with the soft click of the remote, the promise of change flickering in the hearts of those who watch. The neighborhood newsletter arrives in mailboxes, its glossy cover catching the morning light. The Thompsons' smiling faces beam proudly beneath the bold headline, "Community for All." Inside, Diane's resignation letter sits beside a welcome note for new Black and Latino families moving into the area. The pages turn like a promise, each story a thread weaving a new tapestry of inclusion. Richard's copy remains unopened, buried beneath takeout menus and unopened bills. The sold sign planted firmly on his lawn signals a quiet exodus, the end of an era marked by exclusion and fear. Neighbors glance toward the sign with mixed emotions, relief, hope, and lingering uncertainty. Simone sips coffee on her porch, the morning sun warming her face as children play freely nearby. The camera captures the vibrant life blossoming in the streets, the laughter, the shared meals, the tentative friendships forming across old divides. The newsletter's pages flutter in the breeze, a tangible symbol of change taking root. A young couple unpacks boxes, their smiles bright with anticipation. The neighborhood's rhythm shifts, the once rigid boundaries softening under the weight of new stories and shared dreams. The scene closes on the newsletter's cover, the words, "Community for All," glowing softly, a beacon guiding the way forward. Richard sits alone at the corner table of a bustling coffee shop, the aroma of roasted beans swirling around him. His thumb hovers hesitantly over his phone screen, scrolling through the "Let Kids Play" hashtag. Comments flood in, some mocking, others condemning his past actions. The glow of the screen reflects the weariness in his eyes. The barista approaches, a warm smile on her face, but she forgets his order, distracted by the tension radiating from his quiet corner. Outside, the ribbon-cutting ceremony for a new community center unfolds, laughter and music spilling into the streets. Simone's light-hearted laugh carries through the speakers, a stark contrast to Richard's solitude. His coffee cools untouched, the steam curling upward like a fading memory. The notifications keep coming, a relentless tide reminding him that the neighborhood has moved on. Richard's fingers tremble slightly as he locks the phone and tucks it away, the weight of isolation settling in. The camera lingers on his face, etched with regret and disbelief, before pulling back to reveal the vibrant life thriving just beyond the coffee shop's windows. The scene fades with a hum of conversation and the distant sound of children playing. A world transformed. A "For Sale" sign stands firmly planted next door, its bright colors a stark contrast to the fading "Keep Our Neighborhood Safe" placard that once dominated the lawn. A South Asian family unloads boxes, their children racing past on bikes, laughter ringing clear and unguarded. Richard peers through drawn blinds, his gaze heavy with isolation and regret. The movers wave cheerfully, their smiles wide and welcoming, but Richard does not return the gesture. The camera lingers on his face, a portrait of quiet defeat framed by the shadows of the empty house. Outside, the neighborhood breathes in a new rhythm, the hum of life shifting toward inclusion and hope. The security camera atop Richard's porch is coated in cobwebs, its lens clouded and unused. The once vigilant watcher has fallen silent, a relic of a past no longer tolerated. Children's voices echo down the street, weaving through open windows and freshly painted fences. Simone steps outside, watching the new family settle in with a soft smile. The camera pulls back to capture the changing landscape, the cracks in the old foundation filled with fresh soil and new growth. The scene fades on the vibrant colors of the moving boxes, a symbol of transformation and renewal. The sun dips low, casting long shadows as Richard's silhouette stretches thin against the fading light. A teenager points from across the street, whispering to a friend, "That's the guy from the video!" Richard hurries inside, the click of the door locking, echoing like a final verdict. Inside, the house feels colder, emptier. His phone lies buried in a drawer, silent and forgotten. Outside, the neighborhood app pings relentlessly, invitations to potlucks and community gatherings flooding in, messages he no longer receives. Simone's voice carries softly over the scene, a quiet reminder. Change whispers. Neighbors gather under string lights. Laughter weaving through the night air, a tapestry of belonging and hope. The camera lingers on the empty porch where Richard once stood, now bathed in gentle moonlight. The past lingers but no longer holds power. The scene fades with the soft rustle of leaves and the distant sound of children playing, a neighborhood transformed by quiet courage and enduring dignity.